Welcome to another episode of the FWOT Show. I'm Rob Steele. That's Jesus Jones in the background because they're just an awesome band. Coming up in this week's show, God, we've just got so much stuff to get to, including Marco Rubio getting kicked out of his office and some of the most bizarre tech news. I mean, seriously, if nothing else, stick around for this tech news because, frankly, I think it's going to be quite amusing. But we're going to start off with Donnie Trump and his speech. Now, during this speech, our so-called president made 61 distinct comments about a variety of things. I'm not going through all of them because, frankly, I can't be bothered. But of his 61 comments, they were fact-checked by not just me, by a lot of people. Go look them up. 51 of the 61 comments he made were false. Now, were they blatant lies? Not necessarily blatant, but boy, could they be misleading. Let's say, for example, where he said that he inherited a terrible economy where 94 million Americans are out of the workforce. Well, kinda true in the fact that, yes, there are 94 million Americans out of the workforce. They include retirees, people who are disabled and unable to work, family caretakers, and students enrolled in high school or college. So, yeah, if you take those out, there's really only 8 million unemployed Americans, which is a bit less than what he was claiming by, 91%. Do you see why we don't like the guy? Just a bit misleading here. I mean, he also mentioned several terrorist groups, although, strangely, none of them are from the countries on his travel ban. Does any of this make any sense to, anybody? Speaking of his travel ban, yeah, the immigration thing hasn't stopped yet. By the way, the immigration thing that I'm referring to is where they're not letting people into the country who have every right to be here? Yeah. This week's story comes from New York, where a guy by the name of Celestine Omin came here from Nigeria because he does that a lot. He works for a startup software company that has offices in New York and Nairobi and San Francisco. He comes here rather frequently, but now, once he landed in New York after a 24-hour flight, think about that, that's a long flight. He gets off the flight and immigration tells him, "We don't believe you're a software engineer. Take this test that we've just made up by doing a lot of Wikipedia searches to prove that you are, in fact, a software engineer." Yeah, they don't know how to test for software engineers, and frankly, it's none of their damn business. It's his job. He's been here a lot. He's in your records, and just now, Donald Trump says it's okay. He's wrong. On so many levels, including his whole budget cut thing. Did you see the budget cut thing? Where he wants to increase the money going to the military and cut $54 billion from non-defense spending, and 120 generals in the Army signed a petition that they sent to Congress and said, what the hell is he thinking? Who is on this? Oh, I'm sorry. It's not just the Army because we have an admiral. That would be Navy. We've got General David Petraeus. Remember him? General John Allen. Retired Admiral James Stavridis. I'm probably mispronouncing that, but you know what? He's an admiral. He'll either forgive me or make me swab the deck. I'm not sure which. The people who are in the know have said, no, don't do it. Of course, it's not just Donnie. There's a whole lot of other people in his posse? That's what I'm going to call them. It's not his cabinet. It's not his board. He's got a posse. An entourage. No, it's a posse. Because I'm going to include something that was said last week by White House Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders. You remember that name? Huckabee? Yeah, Mike Huckabee's daughter. She said that the president would not be attending the White House Correspondents' Dinner because the press is mean to him. Her quote is, "If a Girl Scout egged your house, would you buy cookies from her?" She says that's a common Southern phrase that's used all the time in the South. Well, there have been a lot of people to jump all over her, mainly on Twitter, because that's how the president communicates these days, with quotes from, let's take Cindy Comstock, who says that in the South? I've lived in the South for nearly 60 years, and not once have I heard anyone say that. You know what? I haven't lived in the South for as long, but I do live in the South now, and I've never heard anyone say that either. Of course, there are other people who jumped in and said things like, I would buy Girl Scout cookies from Satan if it brought me the Girl Scout cookies. Not the best way of phrasing things, and you're supposed to be a big, intelligent person in a very important position. No more microphones for you. Seriously, that's no more for you. And no more for some of the people who are supposed to be making the laws. Yes, I'm looking at Republican congressmen who are trying quite desperately to find something to replace the Affordable Care Act. Some people call it Obamacare, and those people are wrong. Kind of like global warming, it's global climate change. Anyway, so they're trying to find something to replace the Affordable Care Act with, and they have a bill that they're trying to sneak through. The problem is, they're doing their sneaking rather ineptly. By rather ineptly, I mean they have actually been trying to hide the bill from some people, like Senator Rand Paul, who's on their side, or so I thought. But last week when Rand Paul said he wanted to see a copy of this bill before he signed it and pushed it through, they said they couldn't find it. Somewhere in the Congress building is a bill. They just aren't sure where they check the fridge. Maybe you put it in the fridge when you got the, I don't know. It's gone. Poof. This is, of course, provided they had it in the first place, which I, frankly, at this point, rather doubt. But that's not the only problem that our Senate has had this week. How about Mitch McConnell's cargo ship? The anti-drug senator recently had a cargo ship that he owns stopped in Colombia, where they found 90 pounds of cocaine on his boat. Now, we can't actually tie it to Mitch McConnell himself. It just makes me go, aren't you the guy who's against marijuana, the low-quality drug? Seriously? The one that's helpful, as opposed to cocaine, which has no helpful side effects. Unless, you need to stay up for a month. Or then there's the whole pipeline thing, because earlier this week, that pipeline in North Dakota, the one that no one wants built except the Senate and the Congress? Yeah, that one. It sprung a leak. It dropped 176,000 gallons of crude oil into a creek, which kind of made the creek overflow a little bit. And where did this happen? About 2.5 hours away from Standing Rock. So maybe, just maybe, they have the right idea. And, I don't think they'd object if you put a solar farm there, which might give us just about the same amount of energy without depleting the oil, spilling it in drinking water, because that's not a good idea. Neither, by the way, is what Georgia is considering doing with their driver's licenses. They want to put temporary status on some driver's licenses, especially if it's a foreigner, because we can't have them there foreigners having driver's licenses, and they want to put the words, thou shalt not let them vote. Okay, fine. It says ineligible voter on the driver's license. Is that a good idea? Because if you show your driver's license to anyone, right there, that's kind of make them look twice at the person holding the card and go, hang on a minute, should I let you do what you're saying you want to do, like, buy cigarettes or whatever it is? And they say they want to do this because it's really only a temporary license because they're not really citizens and in this country. Driver's licenses are temporary anyway. So if you want to actually, put this together correctly, just have the driver's license expire the same time the green card does. How hard is that? Because, the driver's license is temporary. That's why we have to renew them every 4, 6, 8 years, whatever. I mean, in order to get the license, you have to be documented to get the license in the first damn place. But, these rules that they're coming up with are not the ones that the Republicans themselves actually use. I mean, you remember during the election, the big hissy fit everyone had over Hillary Clinton's use of a private email server. Oh no, she can't have that. Guess who's using one right now? That would be our Vice President, Mike Pence. The one he's using for his official vice president stuff. Oh, guess what happened to it last week? It got hacked. Oh, well, but in typical GOP fashion, he blamed Obama for it. Seriously. I mean, God, I don't understand what the hell they're thinking anymore. I'm not sure I understood what they were thinking in the first place. But I found this. With all the money going toward the continuing investigations against Hillary, perhaps Hillary should now claim to be behind all this Russian interference stuff, so someone on the GOP side will realize it's worth investigating. Just a thought. Because you know the people who are in the GOP won't investigate themselves. They don't follow their own rules. You've got Mike Pence and his email server. How about this guy from Tennessee, Congressman Stott Desjarlais? Am I mispronouncing that? Yes. Does he deserve to have his name pronounced correctly? No. Why? Because he is a pro-life supporter, anti-abortion all the way, unless it comes to his mistress, who he is trying to blackmail into getting an abortion so he doesn't have a kid with her. Yeah, really. No perspective at all whatsoever. Actually, speaking of perspective, I have nowhere else to put this story, but I thought it was really weird that the Golden State Warriors, yeah, I'm switching to sports, just give me just a second to get this out. They signed a guy named Jose Calderon, but then one of their actual players got injured and they released him, but they still had to pay him. So he was with the team for a whopping 2 hours and got paid $415,000. Maybe they could have used that money to lower ticket prices so people could get in and watch the game. I'm just thinking out loud, something I do. I also think about things like this. You remember Senator Marco Rubio? Yeah, did you hear what happened to him last week? There are so many people protesting outside his office in Tampa, Florida, that his landlord doesn't own the office. His landlord said, you know what, your lease is up, get the hell out. I'm tired of these people protesting outside my building. You need to be gone. Perhaps the voters in Florida could also think along the same lines. Again, I just think out loud. And now it's time for the quote of the week. That comes from actor George Takei, who I've met a long time ago, but I've met him. Very nice guy. His quote was, "Pay attention. Access to healthcare is not the same as healthcare. I have access to Ryan Reynolds, but that doesn't mean he's covering me." And now for that tech news I told you about at the beginning of the show. There's a product coming out from a company called British Condoms. It's a new tech product called the Icon. I-C-O-N. It is the world's first smart condom. Brace yourself. It's going to get worse. The smart condom is not actually a condom itself. It is a ring that sits at the base of the, think of it as a Fitbit for your man bit. Yeah, there's a slogan for you. It measures a number of things, including how many calories you burned, what positions you just conquered, and the speed and quantity of, your thrusting. Yeah. I'm not making this up. You can look it up all by yourself. You can also share and compare the app, which also measures, and this is something I haven't quite caught on to yet, it measures how many times did I just have sex? You know, I'm pretty sure I know that. I don't need an app to tell me that, but maybe kids of this generation don't know. I don't know. The only other thing I have to go with it is it has an 8-hour battery life. So apparently Sting can use them in his tantric positions too. Wow. This is going to be a thing. It will be available soon. It's going to be about $74 because, yeah, you haven't spent enough money on her anyway. Because, you know, dinner, movie, The Ring, none of that counted. You need to spend another $75 on an Icon. Gonna finish up this show with a couple of things that make no sense to me. Starting with an El Salvador zoo, which had a fairly beloved hippopotamus named Gustavito. Gustavito is no longer with the zoo because some people raided the zoo, jumped the fence, and beat him to death. Yeah, I don't know how long or hard you'd have to be there to beat a hippopotamus to death, and I don't know what you'd have to use. I'm guessing, sledgehammers. But yeah, if you happen to know anyone who's claiming that they killed a hippo with a sledgehammer, contact El Salvador, because they're looking for them. They don't know who did this yet. And if there's a motive, we don't know what that is either. Just a very strange story to me. Similar to a story about a judge named Randy J. Stoker. There's a petition to have this judge removed from the bench because he let a high school football player named John Howard walk completely. Now, what was John Howard charged with? And what did he admit to doing? That would be raping a disabled black teammate with a coat hanger. The judge said that Howard was something of the town's golden boy, while the black boy is really just a disabled kid that no one cares about, and some people call him fried chicken, and oh my God, why is this guy on the bench? I mean, large quantities of color-based crime are starting to pop up again, and they're getting away with it because jack-offs like this guy are on a bench somewhere. And that needs to stop. There is actually a petition to get this guy removed, and I've signed it. You know what? I'll see if I can put a link to it on the website so you can sign it too. Incidentally, I finally found a derogatory term for white people that does actually offend me. I've brought this up before because, black people have the N word and Native Americans have the R word, which is the Washington football team, in case you haven't caught on to that. But white people never really had a term, cracker. No, that just kind of makes me hungry. Honky, I don't get. That doesn't even make sense to me. Now, there is one. It's the T word, Trump. It refers to white, elite businessmen, and that's why I am going to state here, now, and forever, I'm beige, goddammit. Leave me the hell out of it. If you agree or disagree with anything in the show, contact me through the website, thefwotshow.com, or send me an email, rob@thefwotshow.com. Don't forget to pass the show along to your friends. And you know what? Go find Jesus Jones albums. They have a back catalog. They have a new album coming out. They did the theme song that's in the background right now. Great band. Really love them and appreciate everything they've done for the show. And don't forget to check out the Coil Entertainment Network website, COYL, because later this week, we've got another episode of 2 Pages of Mystery, which is going to be a lot of fun. Something to listen to. It's a free audiobook. Give that a check. It'll be fun. So until next time, be careful out there because it is getting worse.